Hey everybody, Funky Maclunkey here, and I want to talk about my setup. Today we're in my workshop. I get questions all the time about how I print the things that I print, how I design them, how I paint them, all of that stuff. So today we're going to talk about printing. I am not going to give a tutorial on 3D printing because frankly there are way too many videos already on YouTube that handle that and probably do a much better job than I would, but I'm just going to describe the way that I do things and give you guys a few tips and tricks that I've discovered along the way that might help you when you're printing the files that you download from me or from somebody else. So let's get started. First of all, let's talk equipment. So I got these gloves on. I'm going to wear these for purposes of illustration because I've separated a lot of things in my workshop to be contaminated or uncontaminated areas. First of all, I don't want to hear any complaints about the messiness of my workbench because I know it's a wreck. You should see over there, just outside of the view here, it gets even worse. But anyway, one of the first things I did was build an enclosure for my resin 3D printers. And that's to keep the fumes out of the living space. This is in my basement, it's in a workroom, but it is connected to the rest of the house. So even though there were doors here, and plenty of insulation, I wanted to make sure that everything was vented outside as best as I could. So this is an IKEA hack, actually. So I took an IKEA cabinet and with a window door on the front, and I cut a hole in the top right there and installed this, basically what you use to vent a dryer, a clothes dryer out of your laundry room. And then I put a powered fan, which unfortunately you can't see there, but I put a powered fan, cut a hole in the side of my house, and it sucks the air out of there and shoots it out. The cabinet below is actually where I keep all of my resin. And I cut holes between those two cabinets so that any fumes that leak out of the resin containers also get sucked out as well. A key component here is the drawer. Now again, this is an IKEA hack. I bought a piece of drawer wood or whatever that particle board garbage is they use at IKEA, and some drawer runners, and installed it in this cabinet. It's not supposed to go with that, but that's what I used it for, so that I can slide the 3D printer drawers out to take the lids off. Makes it a lot easier to keep things enclosed in there when they're printing, but also have easy access to them. Another thing I recommend is putting handles of some sort on the top of the 3D printer lids. I just went and bought some drawer handles from Home Depot for, probably $1 a piece, super glued them on the top. You can screw them in, drill some holes, whatever. I just super glued them. It makes it to where I can lift the lids off the top without getting resin smudged everywhere or anything like that. I also have an air filter running up there. That runs at all times, just to make sure that the air in here is as clean as possible for anything that leaks out of there. Another key component is this air quality meter. I'm going to try to put some links to this stuff in the description down below, but I got this from Amazon, I believe, and it just measures any dangerous chemicals, formaldehyde, volatile organic compounds, things like that in the air. Whenever I open up this box right here, I always turn this on and I just set it right here whenever I'm really messing with isopropyl alcohol or any other resin, just to make sure that things don't get above a level they're supposed to get. I also use a mask. This is the one that I use, this respirator, and I use this when I'm messing with anything that is going to trip that meter. If I am just turning on and off the printers, opening that up for a second, and I have that meter going and the air is safe, then I don't put this on, take it off every time, but I do whenever I'm cleaning anything, whenever I'm getting my face in anything near where I don't want to be breathing that stuff, you're going to want to put one of these on. Okay, now let's talk about the contaminated areas versus the non-contaminated areas, like I mentioned before. Basically, anything over there where I'm painting or putting things together is going to be non-contaminated, as in I don't have to wear protective gear, gloves, or anything because it's all cured resin, it's all safe. And then some things over here are going to be a mix. And so one of the first things I did after I built this cabinet enclosure here is I marked things with gloves or no gloves. And so right here, you can't see it, but on the side of this cabinet it says gloves and then it says no gloves. And that means that I can open and close this cabinet door, whether I'm wearing protective gear or not, without having to take it off and put it back on over and over. I just know that if I need to open this thing for some reason and I don't have gloves on, I touch the no gloves area. If I do have gloves on, I only touch the gloves area, so I don't cross-contaminate. I've done the same thing in my workspace over here. This is my wash and cure area. And in my drawer here, this is where I keep my tools and my funnels and things like that. Again, simple IKEA desk. This thing cost me 60 bucks, I think. And I keep my funnels and my scrapers and my clippers and all that stuff in there. Keep my gloves when I'm not using them. And I've labeled the sections gloves and no gloves. I'm not even sure if you can see that on the video, but it's the same reason. So I only touch this with the gloves, only open it over there if I don't have gloves. When I'm doing my washing and curing process, one of the things that I missed early on that I feel like not enough video tutorials told me was that you should do a two-stage wash. So I keep this container, it's an old trail mix container that I have some kind of reclaimed isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to call it IPA from here on out, IPA in. When I pull prints off of the machines, I open up the drawer, I scrape them off the build plate into here where I have a rubber tray and paper towels, scrape them off, and break off the supports, stick the pieces in the pre-wash, agitate it, shake it around, just put the lid on, shake it around, and then I use those tongs back there because I'm not one of those people that was going to reach my hands in this mess. Some people do, but I like to preserve the life of my gloves so I don't have to throw them out every single time I print something by not jamming them in alcohol and resin all the time. I use those tongs, simple kitchen tongs. I think I paid $2 for. I use those and I scoop the pieces out of the pre-wash and I put them in this thing right here. And this is part of the wash and cure machine, which I can then put in there and it will agitate, and then I pull the basket out and dump them onto my tray here to dry. At that point, the resin has been off of them, and eventually I would like to put this in an enclosure as well. For now, I just wear my mask when I'm doing it, and I just don't get too close until it's dried. These are dried right here. And then after that, I put them in the curing station, and they cure, at which time they come over here, and that's when I do all of my assembling and all of that. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm leaving out here, but I think that the best things that I've learned in this whole process are really just keep your air as clean as possible, keep things circulating, and by all means, please ventilate, create something. You can buy a grow tent on Amazon that's meant for like growing weed in your apartment when you don't want anybody to find out. Get one of those and stick your printers in there, and it pumps. You can do the thing out the window. It'll pump the fumes out the window. Build yourself an enclosure of some sort. Build it or buy it. Not only, I see too many people on Reddit especially talking about the dangers of inhaling some of this stuff. And whether you're one of those people who thinks that it's super dangerous in the long term or not, you should always protect yourself just in case, because it's super freaking easy. Gloves, ventilation, and a mask. Those are the basics. Also, it stinks. Resin stinks. You don't want that in your house. I don't want that in the rest of my house. I want it pumped into my neighbor's yard. Sorry, neighbors. Just kidding. Seriously, pump it outside. I also keep, you can't see it because it's just out of view here, but in my basement workshop here, I have a wire shelf that I keep a bunch of house plants on. I have a grow lamp on them. Plants are the best air cleaners, the best natural air cleaners that you could possibly hope for. So in addition to the ventilation and the constantly running air filter, I have nature's air cleaners sitting right there helping me out as well. So that's pretty much it for my 3D printing process. As you can see, fortunately, my air quality meter has been going this whole time, and we are about as safe as you could possibly be, which is good news. I always like to hear that. I don't think that there's anything else on the 3D printing side to talk about. Again, any more in-depth guidance you need, you're going to find better quality videos than this online for you to look at. One other thing, as you can see, I'm an Anycubic guy. I use Anycubic printers. These are 2 Photon Mono 4K printers. I also have their wash and cure station, and I have a Cobra Plus FDM printer just out of view there as well. A lot of my buddy designers swear by their Elegoo machines, their Mars and their Saturn machines. They seem great. I've never used them. I just happen to like these. At some point, I may experiment otherwise, but for now, this does the trick. So I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time. Feel free to hit me in the comments down below if you have any questions or comments. If you want to criticize the dirtiness of my workshop, if you want to point out any small imperfections in my process here, tell me I'm gonna, die from the fumes that I'm inhaling, or that I'm being overprotective, underprotected, my carpentry sucks, whatever you like. I'm sure I'll hear all about it. Until next time, I think the next video I do, maybe I'll talk about painting or something, and you'll get to see the super dirty workshop over there. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Stay funky, everybody.